time is 6:31 p.m. Wednesday, November 12th, and welcome to the Swatara Township Stormwater Authority meeting. If you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Savage, if you please call the roll.
Director Tuckey.
Here.
Director Zubek.
Here.
Director Connolly.
Here.
Director Ellis.
Here.
Chairman Steele.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
The Stormwater Authority did not have an executive session. Up to item 3. Is there any visitors' requests and comments? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Got a motion from Director Connolly. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second from Director Ellis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor give your consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Anyone abstaining? That motion passes. Item 5 on the agenda is consideration of minutes, October 8th, 2025. I entertain a motion.
Motion.
I got a motion from Director Connolly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Director Ellis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor give your consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Anyone abstaining? That motion passes. Item 6 is going to be a presentation by PFM for the stormwater rate study. Ben Kappenstein. Did I pronounce that right, Ben? Ben Kappenstein?
Yeah, most people get it wrong, but you did get it right. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Ben Kappenstein with PFM. I'm going to talk through some stormwater rate projections tonight. So I want to make sure I get all your questions answered. I will tick through this pretty quick, but please stop me if you want to ask any questions. So,
Ben, what I intend to do
Yes,
is
sir.
just let you get to your presentation, and if we have to go back to a specific slide,
Fine.
then the directors can come back and answer any questions.
Sounds good? Okay. So if we're starting on page 2, we usually just like to start off with some of the system highlights. So the system has about 28,259 paying ERUs, which is basically the same if you've heard that term EDU, equivalent dwelling unit. It represents a single residential household is how you can look at it. So 28,259, that's a lot. That's a good amount of users. The system does project pretty large future capital plans. I know you're still in development of that. We're going to talk about that. We ran a bunch of different scenarios to show you when you spend more capital, what that does to rates. There's currently about $834,000 of debt tied to the stormwater system. It amortizes at about $112,000 annually, and it ends in 2032. Right now, the system has a pretty good amount of cash on hand, so we measure that in what's called days cash on hand. Right now, the system has 524 days cash, meaning that if no future revenues came in, you could survive 524 days with your operating expenses just on the reserves that you have currently, which is about $1.64 million. Major modeling assumptions. So we use the 25 stormwater budget as the base year. The rate structure doesn't change. It's a flat annual rate with bills sent out annually. We have inflation in here, so it's 2.5% inflation. We assume no customer growth to be conservative. However, we are told there is some growth projected, the data center as well as some of the residential stuff and commercial stuff. So any of that would come in would temper down any of the rate increases that you'll see in some of these scenarios. So growth is good. We also assume 10% grant funding for all capital projects. And a lot of the capital is financed. It's about 50-50 paid in cash versus being financed. And we want to work with you once you come up with a final capital plan to figure out that split and how that'll look. So what did we find? If you spend $500,000 a year in capital, you basically don't have to raise rates through 2035. So a pretty good amount of capital. But if you go to 1.5 million, there are rate increases that are associated with it. We're going to look at those in a minute. Let's see. So using debt as a technique does make you pay more over time in interest, but it also lowers the amount of cash that's going out to pay for the capital projects, therefore muting the rate increases that are associated with it. We can help explore different things. And then the last thought there's a couple DCIB loans that are still hanging out there. You could potentially repurpose those for stormwater projects. just something to think about in the future. Okay, next slide, please. So just looking at history first, this is a graph from 2022 to 2025 of the stormwater system, and it shows the growth of the fund balance. So in 2022, the stormwater fund actually had a negative fund balance. It owed money to the general fund. It actually owed a little bit more in 2023, and then had a big turnaround in 24 and it continued to improve to the current October 31st balance of about 1.5 million. So a pretty good turnaround in fund balance historically. Next slide, please. So again, we're just going to look at 3 different scenarios here. $1.5 million a year of capital, $1 million a year of capital, and $500,000 a year of capital. So nobody likes to increase rates. What happens if you don't increase rates at these different capital plans? The top chart there on the right is $500,000. So your fund balance would grow from 1.6 to $2.6 million over the projected period if you spent $500,000 a year. If you go to $1.5 million, the system would actually run out of cash in 2030. So you can see that as the capital goes up, you're going to need to increase rates to get that fund balance up. So here we have the projected annual flat rate. So right now it's at $60, and you can see that in scenario 3, which is the $500,000 capital spend, it remains at $60. So rates aren't increased. If you go to scenario 2, which is $1 million of capital a year, you can see it's in the middle line there where rates do increase. They go from $60 up to $77 by the end of the projection period. And then at the $1.5 million of capital spending, you get to $94 by 2035. So these are the same things, just showing the rate increases that would be associated with it. Again, scenario 3, there's no rate increases. Scenario 2 and scenario 1, you can see the different rate increases that would happen annually. We always want you to have a good fund balance. So in all of our projections, you are growing your fund balance. So you can see it's at 1.6 there. It is projected to grow under all 3 scenarios, anywhere from 1.8 million up to 2.6 million. And what's that mean for days cash on hand, which again is how we measure liquidity? Currently you're at 524 days, and you can see that at the end of the projection period, in some of the scenarios you're down a little bit in the higher spending ones, but in the other one you actually grow to 648 days. Debt service coverage, another financial metric to look at. The AAA score from Moody's is 2 times debt service coverage. Currently, the system is well above that at around 4.6. And it does decrease over time, but it never really drops below 2 except in that one instance. And even if it does drop below 2, a lot of systems have a 1.1 times coverage ratio. So you have a really good, projected debt service coverage here. So comparing you to neighbors. Everybody usually wants to know, how does my rate compare? We did a comparison. You guys actually have the lowest of the sample group that was studied. So you're $60 per year, and you can see Susquehanna, Derry, Conewago. There's a bunch of different places on there, but they all have higher rates than you, which, is a good thing that if you do have to increase rates in the future, you have room to do so. Next step, so I think you're working through a capital plan. We think that you should do that 5 years at a minimum, longer if possible. And then once that plan's in place, we can tailor our plan to see if you need rate increases in the future. Then every year you should kind of look at these projections and decide, are you still on track or do you need to make changes? And that's pretty much it. The rest of it's just backup. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, we'll open up for questions for any of the directors or the finance director. Any directors have any questions?
Yeah, I have some
Go
questions.
ahead.
So on the third page, it goes back to 2022, but the authority was created prior to 2022. Had you looked at doing like 5 years, or what made you choose 2022 as a starting point?
That's what we had. That was the info that we were provided.
Oh, that's the info you were provided.
Yes.
Okay. And my other question is, had you looked at the projects that coincided with those years where there was a negative balance? Because I recall in 2021, several projects were started that kind of went into 2022 and 2023, and it far exceeded, prior to that, the $500,000 that you had mentioned. Now, if we're using the same exact numbers, wouldn't that $500,000 spend range be for all of the years prior as well?
I don't know what was spent in those prior years. No, we haven't looked into specifically what drove those. We could, but that wasn't really a part of the scope, no.
And then my other question is, well, the reason I'm asking is because in 2021, I believe, the board had provided stormwater staff with approval to undertake projects. The staff kept coming back to the board asking for $200,000 here, $200,000 there, and at that time, I believe it was Chairman Connolly had suggested that we allow staff to take money from the reserve fund to pay for the projects, and then the projects would get paid back. But I recall seeing something in 2021 where it was never paid back. So that's what I was just inquiring, if you had looked at.
You mean the interaction
prior
between the
years.
general fund and the stormwater fund?
They were taking money out of the reserve fund to pay stormwater things, and then paying back the reserve fund. That was
Township
the
reserve.
motion. Yes,
Okay,
correct.
okay, that's what I was just, yeah. I don't know. I know that there was historical transfers that had happened. I wasn't really involved in the stormwater at that point. I do vaguely kind of remember that. Tom's here if you want to comment on it, but
I'll wait my turn.
Okay.
If
No,
Mr. Zubik has any
will.
more.
I will yield to Chairman, Chairman Steele. Thank you.
Any other comments or
Yeah,
questions?
I do. The reason we're here tonight was to look at whether or not we needed a rate increase. So
I didn't know why we were here.
I'm not familiar with anything that Commissioner Zubek said about these vague 200,000s, but the interesting thing is she was here in 22 and 23 and I wasn't. So if there was any issue, then the rates could have increased. So I think things are going pretty good. I noticed that I feel like we'll look at this in 26, 27. I personally feel like we're at a good rate here. Like you said, we're on the low side. We should have enough money to fund the projects through those years. And I think we're going to be adding, obviously, impervious surface. So just like how this board has historically tried to handle tax situation, if we have more money coming in from more people, then we don't have to raise, in this case, the rate on the existing people that are involved here. So I know you and I had talked about it, and I think that's something maybe we get with Zach in incorporate the future development
growth.
And then we look at how much the money would generate into the pot. So, I mean, I think this is an excellent presentation. I appreciate all the information, the time you took. So we're getting a chance to look at something that shows us that things are going really good and they're on the path to stay that way, but not indefinitely. I mean,
Yeah, at some
now-
point you're going to have to raise the stormwater rate, right? It's
Yeah.
not going to stay that way forever. You're going to have a project come up that's $2.5 million or something at some point, right? And you're going to have to raise the debt to do it, or however you pay for it, and you're going to have to raise rates. But right now, it seems that if you're spending $500,000 in that range, you can kind of figure it out without raising rates currently. But, you know, that could change over the 10-year period depending on the projects that come down the line.
And as we had discussed before when we were, preparing for a presentation, we also are seeing the new development incorporate a lot of stormwater programs into their project. So we have the ability to do projects that we need to do with the funds that we have, but we're getting other projects that are being taken care of by new development that are actually helping us meet our pollutant reduction plan,
MS4,
taking water off of the streets, stopping the flash flooding. So there's a lot of positives, and I just want to thank you for the detail and the information, and I wasn't familiar with all of the neighbors, so I think that was an interesting sample that you had there, because I saw it spanned into another county.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. Nobody wants to pay an extra fee, but $5 a month to meet requirements set by a higher level government.
The thing is, if you don't pay through stormwater fees, as you guys know, it's going to be paid through tax revenue, right? So, or the general fund. So one way or another, these things have to get paid. It's an unfunded mandate. It's not fair to you, but it's an unfunded mandate you have to deal with, and have to find a way to pay for it. So.
Yeah, and now that with Zach in here, Zach, we're talking about the stormwater fee and how we'd like to be able to track. Nothing immediate, but between this year and next year, looking at impervious surface as it's added. So when we talk about new development coming in, we can calculate those fees and then have an estimate as to what's coming in. And maybe as we look at that amount coming in from new development, we match it to your graph on the need. And
That'll bring down right. So at the
Yeah,
1.5 million, if you had a 10% rate increase, now it'll be an 8 or a 7% increase, right? If you add growth in. But I think really all we need is like the total amount of estimated ERUs per year.
I can easily get that.
And then I can calculate
I'm
it.
just saying as maybe a 6-month update, and then I'm assuming you'll be back in a year.
As far out as you can go, too. I mean, a couple
Sure.
years or whatever, however far you can. Yeah.
Yeah, but if he has it in 6 months and he has it in a year and he can project it from whatever he knows going forward, that would help us decide how long we can go at the same rate, what we would have to increase it to. And
We still like to show it to you. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
seeing it conservatively like this
Right.
without the growth, which we kind of talked about, because you never know about growth, right? Obviously, everybody hopes it comes. There's been times when stuff is paused. So I always like to start conservative, and then things get better from there, which is hopefully what happens.
Other than that, I just want to say thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Any other directors?
Tony, I'm going to put you on the spot for like 5 seconds. I'm assuming we don't know the answer to this yet, but have we gotten any requirements from DEP for what the next permit cycle? Okay. I'm sorry. No, got it. But yeah, I think that obviously that will be a
capital
big
plan.
factor. Yeah,
that's
in
big. I mean, you guys should
determining-
get a real hold on that. I would try
Yeah.
a 10-year capital plan if you can, but 5's better than nothing. But
Yeah.
just to get a sense, it's going to change, but just to get a sense of where you're going.
Thing that I'll say to that is I feel like it's going to have to be the 5-year because of the permit cycle. We don't
Good
know
point.
what the
Good point.
requirements are.
Yep.
We can't plan for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel
And
like
we can take assumptions off of the 5-year spend
Yeah.
of what it could be in the future. So
Yep.
that's fine. Yeah. I think that's already underway. Shane sent me something that you're working
Yeah,
on.
to Director,
so.
were you done, Director Ellis?
Yeah.
To Director Ellis's point, and that's what I was going to raise a point about, basically we already know what we're going to do next year, the Spring Creek project, right? That's involves Donald Taylor Park, so that'll be one of our stormwater projects.
Yeah.
So we're going to have another year of savings. So if we can add that in to this projection, because that 2.6 to 2035 might be a little bit different. And I guess my thought process is that gives us 2 years of not spending the township's capital, because we already have that money set aside for that project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's $1 million, so we can get $1 million project done in 27 now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the next year, maybe 28, I don't know if there's be a new board budget, I can't remember. But in 28, then they might want to do a $500,000 project, wait 2 years and do another $1 million project. I think there's some scenarios we'd like to look at too, but.
Yeah, like I said, we can rerun this stuff as you get you get a new plan. You say, put this in. Now, what's it look like? And we'll just be able to easily drop it in and show you what it
No,
looks like.
I mean, I think in 2 years, that was a great turnaround. I think that was a huge effort by all the employees, I do want to say, to the stormwater employees, and your help too, because PFM has always helped in the background with financial sound advice. a 2-year turnaround that quick is outstanding.
Good to have a positive financial balance for
Right.
sure in the fund. And, you want to keep it so in the future, hopefully there's not a lot of intermingling and you can kind of grow that as a strong fund
Right.
on its own and survive, just like a sanitary sewer fund would do.
Right. Well, and this is essentially, I think last year was our first year we actually ever had a capital reserve in stormwater. So, yeah, I think we're headed in the right direction. Any other directors have any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Director Tucky.
I'd like to see like from like 2018 instead of 2022.
Okay.
Should give us more of a idea of why we ended up in this
19.
situation.
Well, the authority didn't start till 20.
On that one chart you're talking about, and
When it first started,
20, no, well, the storm, we didn't administer it.
Oh, yeah.
If you started it, like 2020, I believe, is when the Stormwater Authority was created. It was
it was at the
administered by
township
the
for a
Sewer
couple of
Authority.
go back further on that
I
graph.
like to from the beginning on, so we can really see what has happened with the funds and see where we need to improve.
Yep. Yeah, we can add that to the graph.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
I have one more point.
Go ahead.
I would also like to match up the projects per year.
The capital spend.
Yes,
on the
per
years.
year.
Okay.
Yeah, most of it is actually not capital spend. Most of it is on equipment reimbursement fees and employee
Whatever the
reimbursement
expenses
fees,
were per year.
that basically propping up the highway department for the township.
Well, I know there were quite a few projects as well, so I would just like to see whatever expenses there were compared to the 500,000 that you mentioned, the $500,000.
Okay.
Director Conley?
Historical capital spending per
Correct,
year.
yes.
As it okay. I see.
Thank
Ben,
you.
I mean, if that's something you do, that's great, but the
Why wouldn't
reason
you
we
do
had
that?
you here was for a rate increase, so we know we didn't increase the rates in 18, 19, or 20, so if you want to work with Mr. Trafka and see if we have that information.
Why wouldn't we have that information?
Well, you're asking the person who came tonight for a specific reason to see if we were going to raise our rates about a long historical thing that we have here.
But he gave us a price point of $500,000 to not have to raise rates. So what I'm asking is not unreasonable to provide me with historical data on if we were under that price point in prior years from the inception of the program. Because if you spent more money than you were actually bringing in, then you put us in a bad position in those years leading forward. And I don't think that that's unreasonable for me to ask for that historical information. And I'm sure he has
I'm
it.
not saying it's
It's
unreasonable.
I don't have it currently, no.
Yeah, but he wouldn't
you
have
guys
the
it, I can analyze
information.
it, yeah.
We would have it here because we are the sewer authority.
Yes.
So if there was an issue in 18,
Stormwater Authority.
the stormwater authority, I apologize.
Everything gets mixed up.
Yeah, everything gets, I mean, if you're asking if we can go back to 18 to raise some rates, I think we're worried about going forward. and we
No,
don't
I'm
wanna
asking
raise
if
the
we can
rates.
go back so I can see the history behind it. And history does matter.
Any other comments? Director Tucky?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's exactly the same reason I was asking.
Yeah, no, I think Director Tucky just brought up an actual valid point because, when you see this growth in 24 and then 25, part of that is also a cost sharing agreement by spreading, those costs across 3 entities rather than just the one.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought down our expenses and that allowed us to build up more capital and then build a reserve fund. I know he's been an opponent against that since the inception of it last year, but this is a direct reflection of that actually working. Good.
The only reason I have been against it is because I'm concerned with how the funds are being taken from other entities. That's the whole reason I was against it.
Does any other directors have any questions or comments? Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I did not catch your name.
I'm Alexa.
Yes, your turn. We're up to item 7, presentation. You're actually on here.
And I do
Okay.
not have a PowerPoint. I'm very, very sorry. I do have a couple handouts, if I may. I will come up and give you each one. And you've already got one. You know, since I printed
totally
them
have.
out, should I just hold them on? Does anyone want a second one?
Oh, you're here. I'll take another one.
I'm so sorry about that. And there's my card.
Thank you, Faye.
Do you want to, just set them out there if anyone from the public wants them? That's fine.
Absolutely. Let me just get my card out then.
Thank you.
And Alexa, when you get up there, if you could just introduce yourself so the public knows where you're from and also those that are watching live.
And I'll just go ahead. I'll do everything. So, all right, my name is Alexa Korber. I work for Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. We are the staffing body for the Dauphin County Planning Commission. Gerard Duke was actually supposed to be here with me tonight. I'm bringing out his name because I think a lot of people might know him. He's the Dauphin County Planning Coordinator. So I was invited here by Kevin to talk to you guys about the Water Resource Enhancement Program, which we shortened to WRAP. Swatara Township is one of 11 members that currently participates. We had sent out our 2025 invoice for membership dues, which is coming out to about $2,500. That was a flat rate that every participant was going to pay this year. Kevin wanted me to make this presentation just so that you guys understood sort of what we've actually been doing the past year and what we're going to be doing in future years. So, and as my way to start that out, I actually have an answer to the question about the next cycle permit requirements for DEP. From what we have heard from them directly, they are completely switching over to volume control measures. So sediment credits, nitrogen credits, pollution reduction plans, gone. Gone. They are completely pivoting to volume control. So the reason the rep dues for this past year were so low and were so uniform was because essentially it was a planning year for us. We took that information from DEP and we were trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with this? What we sort of settled on was taking all of our member municipalities, getting what stormwater data they already have as for their systems, their BMPs, and any other information they have, and sort of synthesizing it together into one uniform membership GIS database. We were going to hire a consulting firm to do that so that all the data would be consistent. We came up with a schema of data for all the information that we would need. So even if we'd say, you know, oh, your system, it's mapped so well, you know, maybe there's a data point in there that we think we need for this volume control that isn't in there. So the consultant's going to come through and they're going to take care of that. They're going to make sure it's consistent through all membership. They're also going to go out and verify the location of all those public BMPs. They're going to go through all your stormwater plans to make sure that they're not missing anything. So that was sort of the course of action we decided on. The rep committee, of which Kevin is a member, seemed happy with that course of action. And so throughout 2025, what we did was we put together a request for proposals and sent it out there. Where we are as of now is we've got all our proposals in and we're reviewing them. We're actually going to finalize our choice 2 weeks from now and present it to the committee at the end of the year. At that point, we'll have costs. The consultant's going to tell us exactly what this is going to cost. At that point, we'll be able to finalize costs for 2026 and 2027. We come back to you guys and say, hey, this is how much it's going to be. Are you still in? If you say no, that's totally fine. There's no contract involved that's going to make you pay that money. But if you say yes, then we go ahead and go forward with that. So essentially our plans for the next 2 years are to get that BMP database together. Once that's there sort of as our baseline, our next plan is to do the impervious area assessments, go back to all the BMPs and figure out how many acres they're treating and see if there are any candidates for retrofitting. And we figure between the two of those, that sort of gets us in a good place for volume control for the next permit requirements. Of course, a lot of what we do is influenced by the input of the committee. A lot of the way we do certain things is influenced by the committee. For example, when I first put this idea together for the BMP database, I said, all right, let's get a cost. We'll divide it by 11. You all pay the same thing. The committee said, well, wait. You know, why am I paying $7,000 while I'm Royalton Borough and we've got 2 BMPs? So part of what we did was we made the consultant ratio out how much it was going to cost to do everyone's work so that we could come up with a ratioed fee for the next 2 years. So things like that sort of affect what we do and how we do it. The goal is to do it fairly. The goal is to save money. So if the consultant would come and tell me, Swatara Township, it's gonna cost us 45 grand. Well, we're not just gonna say, here's a bill for 45 grand, please pay us that money. We use gaming grant money. Some of it we've already been awarded. We also use some of our rep pots, which came from way, way back when they did the Conewago Creek restoration. A bunch of people bought into that. They paid off their MS4 credits for sediment reduction, and we had a bunch of money left over. So we do have a pot where we're adding everyone's dues to it, but the goal is to actually use that money to result in a cost reduction for our participants. So that's where we are right now. I will try to answer as many questions as I can. I might have to push some questions off to Jerry if there's something I can't answer, but that was why I gave out my card. Yeah, so that's where I am. I'm sorry, I tend to talk quickly.
No, you did a fine job, Alexa. Any questions or comments from the directors? Go ahead, Director.
So since they're kind of scrapping what we've already done, what we have left from on our permit, is that going to be carried on to the next, is it going to be converted to volume? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure how DEP is going to handle stuff with the last
It
permit.
would just be nice if we
Yeah.
had extra that we've gone one above and
Kevin spoke to
I
that,
thought
that
he
there should be
did.
some, we
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know what, but.
And I
Some
will,
credits.
yeah, and I will tell you this, they're going to be giving out volume control credits. They're going to be giving you extra for working as a group. They've already made that clear to us. I don't know how much extra or how they're going to figure that out, but they do say that that's what they're trying to encourage.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Having this joint municipal, basically almost like a authority, does that qualify us for more federal and state funding to assist us as well, either on the local municipal or the group, the WREP group?
Well, I can tell you it gives you a boost for CAP money. That's the Countywide Action Plan. I guess technically that's state because that's DEP basically saying you had to do this.
Right.
So yeah, it does give us a boost. Basically, rep identified projects sort of become the first pick for CAP when we have money there. I personally think it gives us a leg up in other applications. Like I've been using it to apply to growing greener. I've been using it to apply to gaming. I mean, I guess we're going to have to wait until the awards actually come out for me to be able to say it worked.
Right.
But I've been trying.
Right. Yeah, puts you in a better position anyway.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the directors?
I do have a question on the division of the fee. That was strictly based on the number of BMPs.
We did a weird little formula based on like 50% area and like 50% existing BMPs.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason because you have a nice informational chart here that has population and households.
Right.
But that doesn't play into the way the fees divide.
No.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any directors? Thanks for coming out. and
Okay,
joining us
yeah,
this
of course.
evening.
Yeah,
Great information.
anytime
Thanks for
to
that.
contact me. Yeah.
We'll email you. Is there any way we can get this in electronic form?
Oh, yeah.
Possibly put on our website?
Definitely,
Any
yes.
guidance on it? Okay.
Yes, and I'm just going to leave those there. Is that okay?
That's
if anyone
absolutely
wants
fine.
some, feel free to have at them. But
Appreciate you.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
night. Okay, we're up to the stormwater monthly report. Tony? You can sit.
You have a microphone there, so.
You might just have to hit the button on the one there to make sure you're unmuted. I don't know if Brendan has you unmuted on the bottom.
You're on to us. Am I on?
Yeah, the fancy one on the bottom.
You should be. Is your light green or did you just?
Yeah, light green. Good evening. October activities. Staff continue to monitor and complete a Spring Creek renewal project. HRG continues to review all land development plans and do stormwater inspections. Staff performed inlet inspections and televised several pipes following residents' requests and investigation. Staff attended internal meetings on various subdivisions. Staff worked with HRG on Highland Street Pipe relocation project. The bid was awarded to R111. We are awaiting final documents from the contractor. Dewey Street Bank stabilization is awaiting permits from DEP. Dahlwood is working on final design for the project. Staff is working with HRG to finalize the documents for the stream restoration and park. revitalization of Donald Taylor Park. Staff cleaned an inlet pipe on Old Dairy Street. Staff began final preparation and began leaf season on October 13th. Staff responded to 2 illicit discharges after receiving residential complaints, and staff completed inlet pipe repairs on Mushroom Hill Road and Morningside Drive.
Any of the directors have any questions or comments for Tony?
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
did good. Thank you. We'll move on to the treasurer's report. Treasurer Yazinski.
Okay, this is the treasurer's report for the month ending October 31st, 2025. The operating fund had a beginning balance of $165,355.16. We received $230,796.16. We dispersed $293,767.69 with an ending balance of $102,383.63. In the reserve fund, we had a beginning balance of $1,640,897.55. We received $5,708.98. We dispersed $200,000 with an ending balance of $1,446,606.53. And this brings the total stormwater fund balance to $1,548,990.16.
Does any directors have any questions or comments for Treasurer Yazinski?
Thank you.
Hearing none, Solicitor Cocarisi, do you have anything?
I do not.
Any visitors' requests or comments for stormwater? Hearing none. Any possible stormwater violations for investigation from the public or any directors? Starting to my left, Director Tuckey, requests and comments, sir?
No comment.
Starting to my far right, Director Zubek, any questions or comments?
No, I just want to thank the staff for continuing the good work.
Director Conley?
Yeah, appreciate both presentations tonight. And Tony, you did a great job filling in for Director Trafka. And I saw people were coming in during the meeting, so I just want to point out that one of the presentations tonight was about looking at whether or not the township should or could or would have to raise the stormwater fee. For those of you that were here, there was a slide that was up that compared 6 or 7 other surrounding municipalities, and I'm proud to say with the work of this board and previous boards, we have the lowest stormwater fee. It's $5 a month. We're hoping that that doesn't increase. The good news we got tonight is there's no reason to increase it. I'm looking out 2 years, and we expect as more development comes into the township that more money would come into the pot. So that's a remarkable thing in this day and age, to set a fee at $5 a month from a government entity that's required to set the fee. We didn't want to set the fee. We were required to do it to comply with higher level state and federal regulations. And through good management of the funds and the projects, that fee has not increased, and there's no plan to increase it in the near future. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that, because I know we were moving through the slides. And I'd like to thank this board, our stormwater staff, and everybody that's responsible for providing a high level of good government for the amount of money we pay. We met our requirements that we were facing in a 5-year pollutant reduction plan. For those of you that are familiar with that, our PRP is a pollutant reduction plan, and we're going into another phase of it we're members here, we're not commission members. Zubek said we should have credits because we did so well in the previous phase, and we're hoping that that benefits us moving forward. So thank you to everybody.
Vice Chair Ellis?
Just want to say, as always, thank you to the stormwater staff for all of your work. Thank you.
I don't have any comments, just a quick consensus of the board. One thing we did leave off the agenda that we forgot. We had replaced the admin assistant position. We moved Julie over to the township. Is it the consensus of this board that you're okay with go ahead and moving forward with advertising that position and then getting applications and letting HR go through them, and possibly we can get a candidate to fill that position next month?
I didn't realize that it still said stormwater on there, so I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone's prepared
Wait,
to
sorry,
talk
what
about
is
that
the
at
question?
this point.
If we can backfill Julie's position, because essentially the majority of her tasks are now going to be related to zoning and the township executive assistant position, so we're going to lose that administrative assistant for
So
stormwater.
are you suggesting we
Just
advertise to hire another
Yeah,
person?
just advertise to backfill her position now, the administrative assistant position, because we moved her to the township.
Well, if the position is necessary to continue to do the work and provide the assistance to our staff to be able to do their job, then yes, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because we have a billing cycle coming up, so it is for stormwater itself. So we have your consensus, Commissioner Conley?
Is there going to be a job
Yep.
description that we can see?
Yeah, we are just going to use her current job description.
And
Absolutely.
this is a
Yep.
stormwater.
This is a stormwater position, right?
I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Conley, you're okay with that? Director Ellis?
Yes, I just would like to know what portion will still be stormwater, because as I remember, it did say stormwater. It's at all three entities, stormwater, township, and building and code. So if we could get that defined of what portion she'll still do for stormwater, I would appreciate that.
Okay. Director Tuckey?
I'm okay with it, but I am concerned about the percentages that are being divided out through the different entities.
Okay.
That is actually accurate from week to week.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? Motion. Got a motion from Director Conley. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor give your consent by saying aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:13 p.m.